Okay, my name is Anthony Joseph. I am a teaching candidate going through the Rutgers certification program, and this is our sample lesson we had to do. This is an introductory lesson, a first day, a day two slash early week or beginning of the year lesson on just native land. It's cementing one of the routines that I want to establish, that each week we do some form of land acknowledgement, just so that we're constantly thinking about different perspectives of history, right? The fact that an undertold perspective, whatever tribe, the Lenni Lenape, whose land that we sit on, an undertold story. So this is just a primer lesson to get them into the discussion of later in that class time of land acknowledgement. This is just to give a brief overview. These slides will give a brief overview of Native American history, just so that they understand the trajectory of where we're going. Okay. All right. Good morning, class. Thank you for coming. We're going to continue our discussion of, perspective, right? And I just want you to think about that as we go through these slides of, that history is a discussion and argument about perspective, and that there's usually one that dominates, right? We talked about that. And today we're going to dive more into, like I told you, more undertold stories. And this is also going to be a precursor for a routine that we'll do almost every week in this class, learning about the different tribe that whose land we inhabit. But we're going to start right now with just a brief overview of a Native American history, at least up until now in the United States, just a brief precursor of what happened and why land acknowledgement might be important. Think about why land acknowledgement might be important as an overarching question for today. To the left, you can see on the screen is a statue of Squanto, who lived around 1585, plus or minus 10 years to 1622. And if it was not for Squanto, does anyone know what Plymouth, Massachusetts, Plymouth Rock, any of that? So he was the reason why, those pilgrims who escaped Great Britain from religious persecution, he is the reason why Plymouth Rock survived. He helped teach them how to cultivate the land, to grow crops and food and shelter. If it was not for him and his tribe, they would not have survived. So a lot of, when we think about pre-early American, what it says in the textbook of those societies and our colonies, it shares a little bit about him, but think about it. A lot of American history would not have been possible had it not been for Squanto. So get our heads in the mindset. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say and where I want us to be. Let's just get into that mindset. Here's our roadmap. So we'll do 1 and 2 together. Who are the Native Americans? Who does the term apply to? And what happened to the thriving indigenous societies of the colonial era? And then we'll kind of transition to 3 and 4 later, American Indians today, and whose land are we on? The Native Land Acknowledgement. So opening questions: who are the Native Americans? What do we know about early American Indians? And do we know if anything happened to Native Americans? And we can answer this ad hoc, so which I mean by we don't have to go in order of 1, 2, and 3. Just take a moment to think about them and tell me what you know, if anything. And these slides will be, me speaking will be roughly 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Right, as many of you said, the Native Americans, that term refers to the different peoples and societies in the Americas that were here prior to 1492, before Christopher Columbus and European arrival. You might hear me say different terms, American Indians, Indigenous Americans, and if I know the respective tribe, I will say the respective tribe name. Let's just get used to having those different terms in our vocabulary, because some Native Americans, some American Indians like to be referred to as different things. We'll get into that later, but just again, I want us to be comfortable with saying these respective things. They were indigenous. Again, they were the first people to settle in present day US. They were here before Christopher Columbus. He didn't discover a new world. They did. They were already here. This was their world, right? He just found the other half, literally, of the world. And as I will show you on the next slide, they had a sophisticated way of life, of family, and community. And let me show you what I mean. They had functioning societies. And so on the left, you'll see a Powhatan village of Socoton, which is in present-day Virginia. I will show you on the map where that is. And on the right is an actual picture of the ruins of Machu Picchu. The one on the left is a portrait, obviously, which is in present-day Peru. I'll also show you where that is. And let's just talk real quick. What do you notice about them? Like, so what would to you indicate, right, that they are functioning societies, right? So what I mean by that is, does it look like a civilization? What types of things do civilizations need, right? Just try to use your imagination for Machu Picchu, but for the left one, like look, take a look. What do they have that would create a village, a functioning society? So we go through this, exercise. Good. You see the plots of land, right? The crops. You see maybe some water up north, right? You see the farming equipment and houses. They had a society. You see here, right? These are mountains. They're in thousands and thousands of feet above sea level in the mountains. And they have stone structures in the mountains, cut-ins to the mountain, right? These, you can see the steps. And you have to imagine they had food, they had water up there. So you tell me, are these societies sophisticated? I would wager so. I would wager, in fact, had it not been for these societies, a lot of the societies that are there now, the present day things like Peru, Virginia would not have been around had it not been for them. Moving on. What happened? And in a long story short of what happened, because we're going to get into this more deeply when we go over this unit, is that the Europeans and later the United States, when it was founded, brought war and disease as they tried to take over the Americas. So, you'll hear about conquistadors and colonists like Hernan Cortez and Christopher Columbus. They wanted to subjugate the Indians. They wanted to take over Native Americans and take over their land and create a space, take away their space and create a space for themselves. They brought disease. We're in the years of the pandemic, so I'm not going to explain all of this too much, but you get the idea of a different group of people, the Europeans meeting a new group of people, and those germs, they have never been exposed to those germs before. So we get them together and a lot of diseases are created. A lot of different germs are they're being exposed to. Later, as you can see, the 13 colonies took land from the Americans, the Native Americans. Yes, we are on their land. I will show you where we are exactly. And then you have the Indian Removal Act, which was a law created by the United States in the 1830, that forced thousands of natives from their land. So I'm just trying to give you a brief timeline. I should have done a better job of actually putting this on the timeline so you could see it, but you have, colonial arrival. Fast forward to 1830 now, where you have a government saying you have to get up and move, retaking your land. They went on a path that later became known as the Trail of Tears, which a lot of hardship, a lot of sickness, and a lot of pain and death, unfortunately. And I don't want to get too heavy, and I'll be sure to always give a content warning, but a lot of, we hear a lot about the rosier side of history, the invention, success, and sometimes the war and the doom and gloom, but let's think about this as part of perspective. Under every success story is a struggle and perseverance story, right? And you can kind of think about it, the United States would not have been possible had it not been for the forced labor of Black people, right? So success, perseverance, and struggle, right? Same thing here. The United States was creating itself, forced a lot of these Native Americans out. However, there's always, an upswing too with that. And again, there are significantly less American Indians today, but again, they are still around. So let me move back very quickly. I'm sorry. Let me escape and show you this much. If I went to this website and I type in Camden, New Jersey, and I type it right, here's the Lenni Lenape, here's Camden. This is their land. This is land whose land we inhabit. You can see Susquehannock over to the left. That's a common Pennsylvania name. A lot of our area names around here are named by different tribes. and you have the like school Lenape, they call it Lenape, but it's Lenape school. And you see down here, Sokotan, all these other tribes. I zoom out more. Look, this was all land once owned, still owned by them that we inhabit. And further south, because the Europeans colonized down here too. Same deal. Okay. Let's go back to this. And what did we just talk about? Can someone give me the TLDR? Who are the Native Americans and what happened to their thriving societies? Okay. And like we are talking about perspectives fighting to be told, Native Americans today are fighting for their perspective to be told and for them to be recognized. And you see here a Native American woman with her fist up in the air for power. We're going to talk about something akin to that, which is land acknowledgement. So we're going to watch this video next.